So, what are the causes of deterioration in an archive? So, the composition of archival documents, sometimes themselves, are the primary cause of deterioration. So, a lot of records from 1850 onwards are made of modern paper, and this is highly acidic due to the contents of the wood pulp and the chemicals that are added to make it white. And also, this acid also weakens the paper fibers, as do some kinds of inks. Relative humidity also leads to mold growth and increases the process of chemical deterioration. Dry heat makes paper brittle and fragile, and this is compounded by low humidity. The worst situation is the fluctuation of humidity, which causes the paper to expand and contract, and then eventually it'll break. Excessive light causes materials to age. Sunlight causes fading. Ultraviolet, example fluorescent, increases chemical deterioration. Air pollutants such as sulfur dioxide cause chemical reactions with some paper components. Dust and airborne particles also cause damage. There's also a number of biological agents that threaten archival materials, so insects, rodents, other pests feed on cellulite and starch in paper. They also nest in papers. Fungi and mold and mildew will form a warm, dark, moist area where air doesn't circulate, so weaken materials and causing to fade and leave brown marks on paper, a condition referred to as foxing. The most common threat to archival material is improper handling. So, on part of the staff or the users, includes copying brittle materials, taking notes on top of documents, or using scotch tapes to mend tears. At a more general level, it can take on the form of poor management, which can comprise of inadequate security, poor housekeeping, or improper storage. And lastly, disasters, such as fire and flood, also pose serious threats to archives and their holdings. So you want to make sure you mitigate any of these as best you can. So make sure you have suitable environment. Make sure that you're using cleaning properly, and everyone's up to date on the care of these documents. But also kind of looking at what is composed of, what acids are in the paper, and is there ways to mitigate this? So let's talk conservation. So conservation or preservation is a component of archives management. It's what most people think of. There's a difference between restorative conservation and preventive conservation. So a critical component of archives management is knowing the proper facility and environment controls to maximize longevity of archival records. Environmental controls such as relative humidity and temperature are also important when dealing with storage of electronic or digital records. Conservation or preservation of material now includes the use of digitization when copyright is allowed. So conservation focuses on the physical care and maintenance of archival materials. So this includes cleaning, repair, and storage. There's two types of conservation practiced in archives. There's restorative conservation, which consists of the detailed work required to repair archival materials that have suffered actual physical damage. And the intent of restorative conservation is to repair the damage, not to return the document to its original state or add material that's been lost. Techniques or materials should not threaten the original, and it's important that restorative work is visible. Only a trained conservator should practice restorative conservation. In contrast, preventative conservation concentrates on preventing deterioration and loss of physical integrity of archival materials. It's the most important of the two types and is the focus of this video. So there are a number of conservation issues associated with it. With archival materials, first of all, there's the general question of what should be preserved, the artifact or the information. An archive has to assess if a document is replaceable or made of unstable materials such as newsprint. They'll sometimes be lost if the original or document does not survive. Will there be lost details? So example, like a photo, is there intrinsic value in the original? Will a copy be accurate, and can information be properly added later? From an ethical standpoint, the first goal in an archive is to preserve the integrity of the record. There may be frequent demand for access on a fragile original document that can't be easily accommodated. There's also the broader issue of the sheer amount of material at risk, which can often render treatment of individual items difficult.